Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Unscripted, where on this channel you'll hear stories. Some may make you laugh, some may make you cry, some may make you just downright judge us. However, who cares, right? As long as you are gaining lifelong lessons that will help you. So tonight we're doing it a little bit different. It's not just me sharing my crazy stories. I actually have two people here with us. Of course, everyone should know Kiki.
And we apologize. We did have technical difficulties on YouTube, so we're going live for you anyways.
Right. And so everyone knows Kiki, my stylist. If you don't like my outfit, she didn't style me today.
I don't care.
So don't get mad, that's not her. However, she did kind of touch up my hair a little bit. And then I'm so glad that we have Miss Donisha here with us. So before we actually get to tonight's topic, because I know you guys are ready for that, I want you guys to just formally introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and also where can they follow you, etc. So Miss Donisha.
Okay, so my name is Donisha Creel.
Newlywed.
Donisha Harris Creel, and what did you say? I'm so nervous.
So who are you? Don't be nervous. Listen, you're gonna get real good and comfortable. So pretty much, tell us a little bit about yourself and.
Yeah. I'm 48 and just newly married, and I have 4 grandkids, 2 beautiful grown adult children. I have a beautiful family, and this is my thing. I like to do podcasts and talk to people, hear people results about what they think about what we're saying. I am a realist. I am a person that you can tell me anything and I can agree to disagree, but we're gonna be all right.
Good.
So, and I'm also a writer, so I don't like to put out too much of what I got coming because I have a plan and I have to follow through. But just be prepared.
Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout because I'm gonna have some books out and hopefully one as soon as December.
Good. So, how can they follow you? So when your book is out. How can they follow you?
So my Facebook, I don't even know. I know my Instagram is Donisha Harris at, what is it? At 1976. I don't know, child. I don't even know my
We'll make sure we'll
tag y'all in my Instagram. I don't know the thing about her.
Got it.
But you can look me up on Facebook. I'm Donisha Creel on Facebook, so it's not hard to find me. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people that I know, so they might see me, hey, I know Donisha, that's so good. Hey. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just living life, working, and doing my thing.
Good. How about you, Miss Kiki?
Well, y'all don't know me, and excuse me. These lovely ladies look absolutely gorgeous, and I look like I feel. I've been a little under the weather. Y'all keep me in prayer. But I said that I was going to be here no matter what. So I am the woman who wears many hats. I have a refurbishing furniture business. I do hair and makeup for weddings, traveling in and outside of the state. What else do I do?
Stylist.
I'm a stylist.
Makeup.
I handle social media. I do some of everything. I used to make wedding gowns. I kind of cut that, but I will for certain people. I think I'm going to end up making an Instagram jack of all trades because I need something to bring it all together. But I am 39. This is one of my favorite things to do, to be able to talk to people, network, hear stories. When Ann first started this podcast and she said she was going to be telling her stories, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the dopest thing I've ever heard. No, did I think I was actually going to be in here talking? No. I like to be in the background doing her hair, talking noise, and I'm the one who puts all the sound effects to all of her videos and make her look crazy sometimes because it's fun. But that's me, and I am just here to tell my side of the story, and I look forward to doing more podcasts with her.
Awesome. And you guys should already know me. If you have not been following me, shame on you. Get it together. But I am single. I'm 42. And I wear many hats, whether it's a professor, a principal, a minister, a sister, a friend, all of that other good stuff. You know, a mama-ish, okay? Because I'm really an auntie, but
Okay.
you know, they are my children. I don't care what my siblings say. But, and I also own a business, Works by Dina. So where I help business owners actually become successful, etc. So look me up, worksbydina.net. But tonight's topic is actually on premarital sex. Now I want to kind of set the stage so that we all know what
Here
happened.
comes the
Okay.
disclaimer.
So what happened was, so me and several of my girlfriends, there was like at least 8 or 9 of us just talking. We were talking about life. We were talking about, you know, business aspirations and so forth, goals, etc. I don't know if it's because, you know, we're women and we're grown and we suddenly started talking about relationships, right? Oh, what do we want? Some of them are married, some of them are single, etc. And, you know, what do we want in a mate, etc., etc., etc. Someone made a comment. Someone made a comment, and my response was, "Oh, but I don't believe in premarital sex." And it was like, what? Like, girl, who are you? Like what? and I was kind of shocked because these are women of faith. Yes, you know, different denominations and so forth, but we all, at least in that circle, we all profess to be Christians and so forth. And so I was like, wait a minute, so you guys believe in premarital sex? And one of them said something and it started a whole uproar. One of them was like, yeah, I gotta know what I'm gonna have before, because he may not be a certain size. He may not, you know, he may not know what he's doing. Like, it was just, and from there,
Right.
it morphed into like this huge discussion. And I said, you know what, apparently I'm green. I just don't know. And so I said, hold up. I think this is something that is worth a conversation, worth a dialogue. So let's just start off. Where do you stand? Where do each of you stand in terms of premarital sex? I made it known I don't believe in it. I do think whether or not you are a believer in some higher power, because I know that you and I, Donisha, was talking about that we can't only restrict it to Christians, because other faith, they may have, you know, rules and so forth. But I don't believe, whether you believe in a higher power or not, I don't believe in premarital sex. But what is your thoughts on that?
So premarital sex is having sex before you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, like I said, I have children out of wedlock. I haven't been in no other relationship up until a month ago of being someone's wife.
Mm-hmm.
So the me just doing that's my everyday routine in relationships and living in my singleness, dating. Nothing came out to me saying, because even when you're doing and you don't believe in premarital sex, you have to discipline yourself. So that means that you're celibate.
Yeah.
So that means that if you're celibate, then you're not going to have sex before you get married to a person. So that means you're dating in your singleness. You're not having sex, and that person that you intertwine with is going to have to be on the level of what you want.
Right.
Everybody, they just don't.
They're not correct. They don't.
They're not
don't.
there where you are.
Right.
Not saying that what you're doing is bad.
Right.
They're just not there.
Right.
And it was situations where I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I might have dealt with certain individuals that I was living in my singleness that I dealt with, that we tried to do that, and it didn't work because we were content in our way with doing things that way, because neither one of us was trying to marry each other. We was just smashing.
So am
just
I
something
wrong
new.
for just looking at it, let's say, I guess from a Christian or biblical lens, that when I say, hey, even if you want to do it, because I have a pulse, believe me, I want to, right? So, you know, so it's not, I don't think it's a matter, and I think you said something so eloquently, it's a matter of self-discipline, because it's not, at least for me, it's not a case of whether or not I want to, because I do want to, but I just don't feel, if I'm trying to serve God the best of my ability, I don't think God, this is gonna sound so horrible, but I don't think God cares about how I feel. It's more so of a, hey, this is what I want of you, and as a result, I expect you to adhere to that. So, like, would you think that I'm coming across judgmental when I say then, no, you shouldn't have premarital sex, even if that is what you wanted to do?
I mean, in a sense, it would be judgmental.
Okay.
Because you're pressing your thoughts and what you feel on someone else.
Yeah.
That don't mean they got to do it or they're going to do it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your relationship with God is your relationship with God. So while you're practicing abstinence and you're doing celibacy, that's your relationship with God, and that's what you have to do, because you want what you want out of the man that God is going to bring to you. So at the end of the day, if that's what's working for you, then by all means you do what's going to be best for you, because at the end, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know the part that we probably did it the backwards way, because we were having sex before we got married, but we got married.
Gotcha.
But I got me a Boaz.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I think it's different strokes for different folks.
Okay.
Whatever is good for you, and whatever relationship that you have, your personal relationship. Because I have a personal relationship with God. I'm not always obedient. You know, I don't.
Listen, we all human.
I done did my thing and
Right.
did my thing.
Right.
You know, but God is a forgiving God. He's a merciful God, and he understands and he knows. And you're right. He doesn't care about all that extra stuff.
Right.
He just cares about the relationship you have with him and what you're doing with him. Like that's what your thing is. You're the chosen one. He said that this is what you need to do and this is what you need to do. And it's very difficult, because I tried it.
Gotcha. Okay, I want to circle back on something that you said, but I want to get your thoughts, Kiki, on this one.
So for me, I do believe in waiting, even though that's not something I did. I think for me,
I think we all, like that's why I want to kind of, I don't want it to feel like, oh, if we're judging you because you said, I'm like, we went there. We went there.
Yeah.
My issue is when you stay there.
Yeah.
That's the issue. So, whether or not you have kids out of wedlock, whether or not, I don't, me personally, I don't care. And I don't think that, just my opinion, God cares to a certain degree. It's when you know better.
Right.
I think that's the problem.
Right.
Because I don't know, let's say I don't know when you start having a relationship with God, or like a serious relationship with God. Like we may have been, we grew up maybe loving God.
You know the
but
whole
necessarily,
thing, he knows my heart.
But when the light bulb switched and you're like, you know what? No, I want to serve God.
Right.
Now at that point, yeah, you may have had kids and all that. I'm not even talking about that. It's when that revelation or that it's something, because I don't know what it is, at least with people that I talk to and even my personal experience, there's going to be a point that something clicked. You're like, I need to get myself together. I want to serve God. It's from that moment on that I'm thinking about.
But that's what I'm saying. When you said, I want to serve God, and that is what I want to do.
Right.
When I said that's that personal relationship that you have with him. Yeah. So when your mind is set and your heart is set on God, what's for you is for you.
So then, with that said, and I'm so sorry, because we're gonna get back at you, girl. Because that was she saying. So sorry. Hold on. So, but my question. No, you are. But when you say was for you, right? Is it not when everyone gets to, and no matter what stage in life that they are, that they get to, when they get to that point, should there not be a standard across board? Because that's where I have the problem. Where I'm like, okay, I may, let's say in my 20s, let's say we're the same age. Let's say in my 20s, I decided that, listen, I want to live right, or live as I understand the Word of God. And let's say yours happened at 30, right? I don't care if mine's happened at 20, yours happened at 30. The fact that whenever we got that revelation, there should be some measure of uniformity in terms of how we live or strive to live. I think that's the place that I'm really talking about.
Okay.
So I'm not talking about before then. I get. Life happens. It is what it is. And even honestly, even after you get the revelation, life does happen. Like, let's be honest.
When you get the revelation, that's when the devil started playing at you.
Right. But then that's when, to me, that's when you need to delve more into the Word. And when you have those moments, because there's definitely moments like I was straight up looking at scriptures that I put in my prayer journal. Right. I put different scriptures, and I wanted to kind of share some of them that just kind of just reminds me, like, hey, you better chill with this. So one of them is like 1 Thessalonians 4, starting verse 3. I could just stop with, for this is the will of God. I could just stop there. It's not my will. It's your will, God, right? So for this is the will of God, your sanctification. Okay, so then he proceeded and gave a list of what that means. The first thing, that you abstain from sexual immorality. Mind you, he goes through everything else and talk about holiness and all that.
But the first thing
he talks about, hey, keep them legs closed.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, Jesus. But I like what I like, right?
But he knew you liked what you liked.
Listen, he knew what he created was going like what he created.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's, I think that's my issue. It's not a matter of whether or not it's right before you make that decision. It's when you make that decision. Yes, our journey may be different, but where you need to strive to should almost be the same. God's will. And if he's saying this is my will, and the first thing he said, he's sanctification, and the first thing he lists, hey, keep it together.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue. But I'm sorry, go ahead, girl.
Now I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
For me, it was a thing. So I now I believe in sex after marriage. I wish I would have waited. It is a thing of discipline, but it's to a degree it's mind over matter. Like, but if you're not strong-willed here, you can forget about it, or you could have an upbringing where you think that that's how it's supposed to be. Like,
right.
For me,
Right.
that was what I thought love looked like.
Right.
That's what I thought that you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I have been in relationships. I'm not gonna lie. I was 14. My boyfriend was 18. Only thing I wanted to do was kiss him because that's all I thought I was supposed to do. He wanted more. He ended up breaking up with me and dating somebody else.
Right.
Because I wouldn't. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna lose everybody I love,
might as well. Yeah.
So I actually was 16 when I lost my virginity. I went and talked to my mom. I thought I was gonna die that day. I was so scared, and she just looked at me with this blank stare. And to me, my mom's eyes always had this fire. They used to scare the crap out of me. My heart was like this. And she was like, I'm glad you told me. Whenever you feel like you're going to do something, let me know. So I always had, I guess, older boyfriends. My boyfriend was in his 20s. It ended up happening. But girl, when I tell you, right at the beginning, when everything got started, I let him kind of, I said, Mom's outside. I pulled up my pants and ran all the way home. She wasn't even outside.
Oh, no.
I ran all the way home. I was like, what am I doing? Yeah. But then for me, because like I said, sex before marriage wasn't even like a thing. In some households, it's not. It was just, that's what you do when you're grown. It's not a that's what you do after you're married. It was never presented to me in that way. Right. So some people might not even know any better.
Yeah.
And there have been long-lasting relationships from it. But for me,
and I think that's the thing, because and I remember Donisha and I were talking about just past experience, like how we were raised and so forth. But here's the thing, because I remember you mentioning this also. I think that what does us a disservice is that it's not as if we don't have long-lasting relationships when we have premarital. Because growing up for me, it was a little bit different. It was like, you're gonna have sex with this guy, but it's not gonna last.
I think you're a boy.
No,
She legit treats men like I don't care. That's
right. It's almost like, but that was part of like my upbringing and things that I observed, and it didn't help that I have so many brothers. But they're all wonderful men. They are all wonderful men. But growing up, baby, the things they exposed me to. But especially that one, you know who you are. But yeah, so it was almost like, nah, it wouldn't be a long-lasting relationship. So then when you actually do have a long-lasting relationship, it's almost like, well, what else is going to happen? Like
that's how you showed love, and that was that. I had no clue until after I was old enough to even understand. And I'm not even saying like in my 20s and stuff I understood, because I still wasn't Bible sound. Like I didn't understand how much baggage I brought with me from all of those relationships, all those heartbreaks. And in my mind, I'm giving him my body. This has always been, I'm giving him my body. But why do you don't want me no more?
I have a question with regards to that, and both of you guys can probably answer this. Did you realize, let's say from one relationship to the next, right? Even if there was a lapse in between the relationships, did you realize that you was bringing in baggage?
No.
As a result of that relationship?
No.
Did you?
And the crazy thing was for me, in my mind, because I was broken as a little girl. I was one who was actually molested. So I went through a lot of trauma mentally. I never thought I was pretty. I just had all this. Now I'm going to get emotional.
No, don't cry. It's okay. Yeah.
I had all this stuff going on in my mind of what I was not. I never felt like I was really worth anything in my whole, it seemed like childhood up until now. Like, I felt like sex was what was the meaning of love. And that's why I did it. And then when I realized these people really don't want me, and my baby started coming, in my mind, my child is going to love me regardless. So I still have a blessing. So if nobody loves me, at least I'll have a baby. I'll have someone that will, not knowing, being so young, that child going to take more love than it's going to give.
Right.
So it was a struggle for me. And had I known then that just because of sex, I was going to have to carry this weight all the way up into almost my 40s.
Right.
No, ma'am.
Yeah. How about you?
I think she making me cry.
Oh, sorry.
How dare you, Kim?
Oh, sorry.
You know, I think that the same thing. Sex is, because when sometimes some people be over sexual because they've been inappropriately touched, and I don't remember as a little girl because those things didn't go through my head. But I feel like soul ties are a big thing when you're going into something like a marriage or dealing with other people in relationships. Because it can drain you, and it does weigh a lot on your heart. It weighs a lot on your spirit. And that's the reason why God tells us to not have sex before we get married. Because when you're with someone that you're married to, that you're one with, your soul is supposed to be tied with that person. You're supposed to be one with that person. And we're entering with different people. That person is going inside of you, and they are whatever they're experiencing. And I'm gonna just give y'all a story. I was in my singleness. I wasn't dating him. We were smashing. And this man had so much trauma. He had trauma. He was a man that had so much trauma on him, and every time I would be intimate with this man, he was very aggressive sexually.
Yeah.
He was very aggressive in everything that he did. And the reason why he was that way was because he experienced trauma as a child.
Right.
And that trauma, me being vulnerable and being compassionate the way that I am, I dealt with his suicide attempts. I dealt with his situations with him being suicidal and his emotional trauma.
Yeah.
And every time I would have sex with him, I would go in my car and I would cry. Because I am bearing that weight of all of the premarital, the person is not supposed to be my person.
Right.
And when you have bodies, because we got bodies.
Yeah.
Right.
I ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm not a saint.
Look, they know I'm not. I'm a saint now.
I've had my fun.
Yeah.
And I've learned that a lot of stuff, even with sexuality, dealing, and for whatever reason, I can tell when a man has been with another man.
Yeah.
You just can tell.
Yeah. That's the whole other
That's
episode.
a whole other episode.
That's a whole other episode.
But
Baby.
that is the downfall of having sex with somebody that you're not supposed to be sleeping with.
Right.
And then you also deal with other issues because you got your emotions and you got somebody else's emotions
Right.
on top of you.
Right.
And then you got to deal with the stuff that's happened to you as a child.
Right.
Somebody inappropriately touching you. Or somebody, you know, just making you be a lesbian.
Yeah.
Or making you be gay.
Yeah.
Or telling you you're you're a child.
Yeah.
You know, those things don't run through your head as a child.
Right.
When I grew up, like I said, I have all of my aunts were married. I've never seen the women on my dad's side of the family not have husbands. Like I said, my aunt was 4 years older than me. She got pregnant, and my grandma made her baby daddy marry her right there in the front yard. And she's still with him to this day. And all of her children are from him. But, you know, that's the old school thinking. And I used to think that if a guy wasn't having sex with me, he didn't like me.
Yeah. And honestly, so there's just so much.
He didn't like me. He
There's
didn't
so
like me
much to unpack here.
I wasn't sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, he would say I'm sexy.
Yeah.
He would say, but I didn't know the true value of what a man was supposed to do. Even though I'm not a fatherless daughter.
Yeah.
I am not a fatherless daughter. Like I said, I've been hard-headed and I like to learn the hard way. So therefore, when I intertwined and got with men, I got with the wrong type of men, and I slept with the wrong type of men because that's what made me feel comfortable about myself.
Right.
Can I ask you a question? So you said you're not a fatherless daughter, but were you a child who seen what it really looked like to love a woman from your dad?
Yes.
Your dad
Yes.
loves women.
He loved my sister's mom. And I've seen him. I've never seen my dad mistreat a woman. I've never seen him. He had a compassion heart, especially when it came down to little girls. Because I was 2 years old when he got me.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the foster care and he got me. So it's just to see my daddy. I've always seen a man that protects, a man that provides, a man that gives me straight up. I mean, I was, I want to say 12, and my daddy was very
Straightforward.
He was not sugarcoat.
Yeah.
And his mouth was not
Yes.
OEC. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. No, it was what he said. What he said.
Yeah.
And I'm 12 years old, and he's giving me this speech, and he's like, "Go over there and open that door." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Open that door," because I'm 12, so I'm starting to fill out. You got a single man, black man, raising a young girl that's going, of course, you know, I mean, look like this, and he's like, "Oh, she getting ass. Oh, she's starting to fill out," and he told me to open up the door, and I went and I opened the door. He said, "You see how easy that was? You gonna let these niggas get in here?
Oh wow.
Have sex with you." He didn't say have sex, but he said
Yeah.
And he was like, "You don't want to be easy.
Yeah.
All they want is to have sex with you." And
Right.
that's what he always said to me, and it embedded in my head. And he caught me one time standing in the bathroom. I was standing in the bathroom, and I was butt naked. and as all girls, I don't know if y'all can relate, but girls at that age, we all like to explore our bodies.
Yeah.
And we look in the mirror, like,
like, hey, listen.
I thought I was fat. Of
Yeah.
course I wasn't fat. I'm 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm standing on the sink, grinding in the mirror. What? And my daddy was about to, he opened, what you doing? What are you? You know, he traumatized.
Right.
And my grandmother was like, she's a girl.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
I know you won't understand that, but let me talk to her.
Gotcha.
You know,
Gotcha.
my daddy was ready to tell a hole in my behind.
Yeah.
Because, like, in his eyes, like, that, what are you doing?
Right.
But that comes from, and he passed away, and I never told him that I was touched.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I was touched inappropriately by someone, and you know, it's been something that I carry, and I just put it in the back of my head.
And I think that's the thing. So, and there's just like, based on what you guys are saying, there's so much to unpack here. And so, let's with soul ties. Whether it's trauma or not trauma, because yes, I know that I've experienced trauma, but I noticed that a lot of my soul ties also were relationships that involve sex, obviously soul ties, that it was consensual. It wasn't, you know, like how you guys said, that, you know, I didn't feel pretty unless the guy wanted to, you know, have sex with me or whatnot. You know, for whatever reason, so many of women, we get to that point. It's almost like, you know, we our self-worth, we validate our self-worth based on how men desire us, right? So and that's something else to unpack. But with the soul ties, what I appreciate about both of you guys, because I had the same problem, I didn't realize how much of that soul ties, those traumatic experiences, those sexual relationships, how that affected the relationships, you know, in that present time. And so I'm like, no wonder I was, you know, I no wonder I was sometimes mean, nasty, whatever. Like, I was projecting a lot of the disgust I felt from the previous relationships onto this one, and try to, you know, massage it or, under the guise of I love you through sex, or you know, and so forth. And so that's it. So going back to the whole premarital sex, let's put the, Lord forbid, let's put the Bible aside for a little bit. Just that alone, that alone should be enough to say, hey, no, I don't want my worth, I don't want my validation in the relationship to be based on sex. So I rather we grow together. The validation comes from other areas, you know, and I really don't even have time to just list all of those things, but have a measure of self-worth, and hopefully we build, you know, this relationship enough to the point where we decide that we get married, right? Because I don't understand adults, like grown adults, especially like, let's say my age or our age. I'm not dating just to date. I you know, when I was in my 20s now, you know,
we was doing
listen, okay, but I'm like, after a while, like again, this is just for a little bit, putting biblical principles aside. Let's just think about practical. After a while,
you get tired.
Like, what is this all for? What are you trying to achieve? Are you just, hey, I just want to meet the need of my flesh? But then look at what all of us said. We didn't even realize how it affected the next relationship. Right. Now, hindsight, we can say that. But then if you don't even realize that, all you're going to do is go domino effect, go into the next person.
You know what I call it? I call it walking through a revolving door of unchanging behaviors.
And I'm like, insanity.
Because it's like,
you know,
we know better.
Correct.
And we know what we need to do to change it and fix it.
Right.
But your flesh is so strong.
Right.
And you can't allow your flesh to overpower your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult.
Listen, it's so hard.
And are you guys meaning in terms of just having sex, or just, casually, or is it so hard being with somebody that you feel like you're in love with and that's what you have to have?
I think it's doubly hard when emotionally
I was gonna say
you
that.
are in
Your
love
heart
with that
is
person.
involved.
That is why, at least for
That's
me,
the hardest thing.
I go back to the biblical principles
Right.
because that is what holds me together. Because baby, if you are fine and you treat me right, and I'm looking at them lips and all that, I'm gonna want what I want.
Yeah.
However, that's why, at least for me,
That's when I discipline.
that discipline, because I don't think it's like Proverbs 25:28, verse 28. Don't like quote me verbatim, but it's like lack of self-control is like a broken wall, right? So I'm just like, or a wall falling down, something to that effect. And I'm just like, okay, so they're placing emphasis on, hey, you need to have self-control because you are going to break down.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. So that's why I went back to that whole that earlier when I said God don't care about your feelings.
No.
God don't care. Like he
I
don't care.
realize nowhere in the Bible does it say for you to feel anything.
Girl.
And that was what's so hard
I
for
was
me
saying my whole shoe off.
even in arguments in my relationship, the first time I feel like you.
Yeah.
Everything was I feel.
Yeah.
You feel so much, especially being a woman.
Right.
And
So
I
emotional.
just asked Pastor the other day, I said, how do you separate your feelings as a female? He said, you can't. So I have to not only battle with my own will, battle my heart.
Yeah.
And still trying
Yeah.
to figure out.
Hold on. This is a
Mine?
scripture. I'm gonna find it. Hold on.
So I'm just like, it's so hard, especially because I'm almost 40. I don't want to start over. I don't want to learn anybody new. Like, I've been in relationships that were long. Like, I was with one of my exes for 7 years. Considered them to be my best friend. They were even right by my side when I had cancer. Begged me to have a baby. I swore up and down I couldn't have any more kids because that's what the doctor told me. I ended up getting pregnant with my baby. And 8 months, 8 months, it was in between there. That man said, I don't like you no more. I don't know why.
Ooh.
You know what I
Baby.
learned?
And I thought because we were friends
Baby.
first, because I was like, okay, well, knowing the value of friendship, like I think that's what a lot of new relationships may lack. I could be wrong, and I feel like that's why they falter as well. Not only missing the biblical principles, but I thought this time for sure because this man was my friend. We did legit. Want to play tag?
Yeah.
Like that was my friend.
And I think that's where we have to be careful, because it's not as if you may not end up having a good relationship. It may not even be a case that this man is not your husband. He may very well be your husband, the one that God called you to be
He's
with,
not my husband.
and so forth. I'm just saying, like whoever. I'm not saying that man right here, but it may you may know with your heart. God may have told you in a dream that baby, this one is yours. Still, hold on.
Yeah.
Just hold on. But I think I found the scripture.
Okay.
Matthew chapter 15. Okay. This is one of the parables I like. So now they were talking about Peter was like talking to Jesus and was like, hold up, explain this parable to us. What do you mean that we aren't defiled by what we eat, right? Because Jesus like, look, eat what you want, right? Verse 16. And I laughed because Jesus is so dope to me. He said, don't you understand yet? Like, are you stupid or are you dumb? What are you not understanding, right? And then verse 17 says, anything you eat passes through the stomach and then goes into the sewer, right? So he said, you're going to eat it, you're going to take a dump. Okay, you're going to be fine, okay? So don't trip over that. But the words you speak from the heart, right? That's what defiles you. For from the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, right? So that's cheating, okay? And guess what? All sexual immorality, theft, lying, and slander. I'm like, hold up. You rated that with a murderer? Bruh. Jesus, you doing too much. You doing, because the first time I read it, I'm like, Jesus is just so dramatic. Like, come on, God. Like a murderer, a liar, because lying is very serious because the devil is the father of all lies, right? So I'm like, slander, like you equate that, but sir, you gave us the ability to feel and feel, right? So how are you going to put that? It's the sexual immorality, but stems from the heart. So we have to be careful that although yes, we may feel like we're in love, okay? We may feel like, cause listen, I know what it feels like to be in love, right? It is. I don't know why I'm gushing. I know what it feels like to be in love. You see that man, you're like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And
about lust.
the way,
Definitely talking about lust.
right? You caught on.
It's definitely lust.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So here we are, we're like, oh, we love. No. Is it love? Or are you in lust with that person?
You know what it is? Because before I got with my husband, we went on a date. I didn't sleep with him or anything. Because like I said, I was sick of them ninjas. Okay? I was sick of them. And there was one particular guy that because like I said, I was living in my singleness. So I was doing things the way that I wanted to do.
Right.
You can't come to my house and stay the night at my house unless I want you to. It ain't what you want, it's what I want. So when he got a hold of me and, I was in an 8-year relationship that I should have been let go of, but I held on. And the guy that I was seeing a guy from my job I used to work with, him. And he was a beautiful creation of God.
I'm sorry. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Sometimes we gotta say thank you, Jesus. You did that, Lord. Y'all never do that? You know what you gotta do is say, God, you did that. High five, spiritual high five. You did that.
Listen, he's very, very attractive, very handsome.
Yeah.
Very debonairish.
Yeah.
But I was like, God, why you couldn't get all the other stuff to make it him?
To make that work. Yeah.
And we were friends, and it was like I was just so attracted to him, and I was messing with him when I was in a relationship, and because that relationship I was in was traumatic for me because the person I was with for them 8 years, he was an alcoholic. He was, he was just Facebook pimping. He was just doing his thing.
Yeah.
We fell out of love with each other a long time ago. We should have been left each other alone. But he was my comfort blanket. When I couldn't deal with him, he was my sexual comfort blanket.
Did you catch feelings for this one?
Absolutely.
So did you end up feeling that you were in love with this one?
Yes.
But was it really love?
It wasn't love. Because
and that's why you gotta be careful.
He wasn't into me like that. He wasn't into me. He had a girlfriend.
Oh.
He wasn't into me like that.
Gotcha.
He's being a man. A man's gonna do what we allow him to do.
Yeah.
And as long as I gave him that leverage, of course, when I said I love you, he said I love you back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was infatuated with him. I was in lust with him.
And that's why, so we have to be careful.
Yeah.
Obviously I can bring up as many verses as possible. Look, don't do it. God don't want you to do it. Bottom line, whatever your flesh says, it ain't the will of God. But just from a more practical sense, there's so many dangers or types of dangers that you put yourself in. And unfortunately, many times we don't realize that until after the fact, after the act is done, after that relationship has ended, because we thought that it was going to last. We thought that the person would like us or love us, right? Because that's different than just liking. But the person loved us, and because we loved them, and what we felt was so strong that surely it was love, but it could have just been that you wanted to be validated. Right. And so here you are, now you have a soul tie. Now you are bound to this person, and now you have to now do double, triple, quadruple the amount of work to let go of that baggage, so that when you have your husband or your wife, because men, this also applies to you too, that when you find that when you are joined together with your spouse, that you're not bringing that in. And I'm just doing that work. Like I know me, like personally right now, I said like whoever I get married to, I don't want to bring baggage with that. And when I started unpacking, mind you, I've been celibate for over a decade. Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. Oh Lord, it's hard. It is hard. Okay, but God is good. He is my strength. But despite that, thank you, Mama. So despite that, I didn't realize I was carrying baggage. And I'm like, and I'm trying to do the work now so that when I get married, he's not having to deal with
And
that.
I'll tell you how I did that. Go ahead.
So question. You're talking about unpacking.
Mhm.
How? But this is my thing. I have been in situations like, I don't think relationships was ever a less thing for me. Yes, if they were cute, it was a plus.
Yeah.
But I've never been the girl to be like, oh, I got to be with him because he's so fine.
Mhm.
My thought process was I want a family because my family was broken all up when I was little. I just
Gotcha.
want to get married,
Yeah.
and I want to be a good mommy, and I want to
To get married, but you thought that, hey, by sleeping with the guy,
But
it
this
would
is the
lead
thing.
to
So
that?
I was in the relationship with the guy for 7 years.
Mm.
We had a son. I thought this man loved me. When I
Mm.
say, when we called ourselves breaking up, we were broken up for about a good month or whatever, and he kept trying. And I'm trying to fight my heart because I'm just like, no, I'm just tired. It's not right. Da da da. There was one time, this man, I had my cousin actually babysitting my kids. And I said, if such and such come over to the house, don't let him in because he still wants to talk about being together. And I'm just emotionally tired. Not that he cheated, but we just couldn't physically get it together. We would argue about stuff. We weren't financially stable. I had issues with his mom. It was just a lot. And I was just trying to let it go and not end on a bad note because it seemed like every relationship did that. So she said, okay, I got you. This couple fell asleep. He knocked on the door. She let him in. I went out that night. I came home from the club. I go in my room. I said, did such and such come? As soon as I flicked on the light, he jumped out the closet with a gun.
Oh, wow.
Now, I had just started talking to this new guy. He wasn't really my boyfriend, nothing like that. But it was somebody familiar because we all get trapped in that familiarity. So he jumps out of the closet like, so this your new dude? And I'm like, all I could do was laugh because I never seen a gun that close to my face in my life. He was like, oh, you think it's funny? And I laughed harder.
Yeah.
Okay, he pinned me down on the bed. He was like, you know, I ain't gonna shoot you. I'm gonna go find him. So in my mind, I was like, oh, he really loved me because he's crazy.
Oh, wow. Listen.
He is crazy.
That's a whole other level
I said he's
of...
willing to act a fool.
Yeah.
So long story short, we ended up trying again, like an idiot. The last time, he went out to eat one day at Cheesecake Factory. I will never forget the call. I have an aunt. Our family is a whole melting pot. So she's white. She worked at Cheesecake Factory. She said, why is such and such in here with this girl? She paid with her card. She written me off the whole thing. He was cheating on me after he did all of that.
That's what they do.
So me trying to let that go, I remember like continuously going to the altar like, Lord, you want to deal with this. I can't. I want to break down. Like heartbreak. I tell people all the time, don't break my heart, just shoot me. If you want to hurt me, just shoot me. Don't break my heart because it's worse.
Yeah.
I would go to the altar and say, Lord, this is yours. I can't do this. I get home and realize it's still in my hand.
Yeah.
I didn't leave it there. How? For women who want to let go, but what does that look like?
And so, at least for me, right? And I did want to make mention, like I think we're definitely talking about our traumatic experiences, but there are also people who have had healthy relationships, but hey, we just didn't work out. Even to those people, I say you still should not have sex before marriage, even if it's quote unquote a healthy relationship. Right. But in terms of unpacking that, a couple of things that I know that I've done and am continuously doing. I've delved into the word more because the more I know and the more I understand God's heartbeat, is the more I realize that He's going to give me what I need, right? Because the Bible says, and I actually talked about this in another podcast, but it's something that's just in my spirit, in my brain, in my heart. You know how the Bible says that God will give you the desires of your heart.
Right.
Well, if my heartbeat is God's heartbeat,
He's really giving you the desires of His
correct.
heart.
And
Yes.
so He knows that, okay, He's going to take care of His daughter.
Right.
He's going to take care of His son. He's going to make sure whatever. Now, is that easy? Absolutely not, because you're still fighting.
You want what you
So
want.
the issue is, that's why a lot of time when we're looking at these scriptures with regards to fornication, it's really about sanctification. It's about holiness.
Right.
So if you are not trying to be sanctified or live a life of a life that is holy and righteous before God, it's hard serving God when you're being holy.
Like a sin.
And it's doubly worse when you live in a life of sin, because I'm like, it's
Flesh.
hard when you're trying to live right, when you're communing with Him daily. And when I say communing, that means having prayer, eating, digesting His words, apply those things. It's hard doing that. Can you imagine when you sin? Like, oh my gosh. So for me, it was more so of a, I have to pray. If you pray one time a day, try to pray two times a day. If you read, let's say 3 verses a day, bring it up to 4 or 5. Just, and sometimes straight up fast. Fast. That flesh has got to be broken, because that's that daily battle. If that means putting on that whole armor, I don't walk out the house putting on the whole armor. Sometimes I'm walking down the street and I'm like, oh, let me put on this armor because of what I'm seeing. So I just think that it can be done. Also from a practical, I don't want to keep saying practical sense, but from even a non-biblical sense, to be honest with you, what has helped me is also therapy.
Yeah.
I think that's so taboo within our community.
Yep,
but
I think it's bad.
But it is so, and I don't blame them, because I mean, growing up, it was like only crazy people go to therapists. But what I love about my therapist,
Go to therapy.
and mind you, you don't have to go to therapy just because something's wrong is happening. I like my therapist because what she does, she helps me to process things. She never gives me a solution. She's like, okay, well, let's unpack that. Let's have you consider this? Have you considered that? And that's like the best form of thing, and that has helped me to realize here's the revolving door. Here's what I keep doing, and now that I've acknowledged that, now I have to I then go back to the Word. What can I find? Because every answer, every question that you have, the answer's in the Bible.
Right.
Okay, I'm having a problem with daydreaming about Denzel, and when is he gonna leave his wife for me? Okay, well, there's scriptures for that. I have to find scriptures, so when that comes
Don't
up,
look for his name in there. It's not in there.
yeah, Denzel ain't in there. But I'm just saying, but that lust for him may be in there. So I'm like, okay, how to find that scripture? Okay, all right, let me read it. That to me helps with that. Also, what helps me is I do my best not to put myself
In those situations.
I'm kind of getting ahead of myself for like future podcasts, but like relationships, I don't get into a relationship with a man if my pastor is unaware and my spiritual mama is unaware.
And that is, I don't want to say a new thing, but for a lot of people,
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, "Mama."
yeah.
So so tell
Like
me
I'm grown. Like what you mean?
Yes.
Like I'm grown. Why do I
I've
need
heard
them?
people say I never heard of that. And you know, one of the biggest things that used to, and it's supposed to be something beautiful, but you know what that used to break my heart? When I found out that there was an announcement at church, and I was like, oh, that's dope. I want that. And come to find out, they went to pastor.
Yeah,
They got permission.
yeah.
The guy talked to pastor.
There's
and here's the
thing. There's accountability.
Right.
Because don't think, especially if it's that's why to me it's so important that you do involve. Because I used to be one of those people like, I'm grown. I don't even know other person to come in and watch and monitor and this and that and tell me rules. Rules like
keep you disciplined in your
Bingo.
walk with God. And
Bingo.
But
where
also
you're supposed
somebody
to be
who can
going.
cover you. And I learned that.
and that's the thing. That
Now
covering
pastors involved.
and that guidance is so important, because hey, I have not done it right.
Right.
So if I'm looking at my pastor who is knocking on 25 years of marriage,
Right.
my bishop who's like 45 plus
Right.
married, Like,
Why not learn from the
listen,
pros?
and y'all still love each other. Like, I'm like, ew, stop. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, y'all still love each other. Hey, I want to know how you did that.
And, and
So,
y'all can be thankful to be able to have a church where you're able to go to your pastor and your the woman of the church to be able to give you guidance and structure, because a lot of churches aren't like that.
They're not.
And you can't get guidance from some. Just like I used to tell my daughter this, because I am my daddy's daughter. A hoe can't tell a hoe to stop hoeing. A drug addict can't tell a drug addict to stop smoking dope.
Right.
So you cannot try to lead and be doing the wrong things and expect for somebody to listen to you or take real action.
Right.
And what I was going to tell you when she said, how do you unpack? And a lot of the ways that you were saying that you unpack, God had to sit me down. When I say he had to sit me down, I was spiraling out of control lustfully. I was in a everything I thought about was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I just daydreamed about him, and when and my best friend was talking to me, and she said, best friend, I'm just gonna have to be honest with you. He's just not into you like that. He don't like you like that. He like you. And I used to say to him, what am I, a roach? Because you only come to my house in the nighttime. You only want to come over here. And it wasn't registering to me because my eyes was covered in lust. I saw this fine man standing in front of me, and all I wanted to do was have my night with him. But then when he leave, I'm sad again. So God had to say, listen, I'm trying to prepare you for something. I can't give him to you if you around here sleeping with him, because he ain't the man I got for you.
Oh, listen. When you said that, came to my mind. Like on I've seen this many times on Facebook. Like how there's like a picture of Jesus carrying this big old bear in the back, and a little girl carrying a little small bear. And she's like, but Jesus, I want it. And God's like, what I have for you is
trust me.
It's that lack of trust. So for those who are like you're like, hey, how do you unpack that or whatever? You can't trust yourself. You can't trust yourself because hey, you have failed yourself.
And I wasn't even
trusting God.
And I was so in my head and in my vagina. That I couldn't even see past.
You can't be objective.
Face.
You can't be objective.
I couldn't see it. I was like,
you know how many times I had a really good friend of mine yell at me. She said, "Is that really what you think God got for you?" It stunned me. Like, girl, why you talk to me like that? I'm just trying to tell you what's going on. Like, we just bump ahead. She said no. She said, are you kidding me?
That's why I'm telling you that scripture that I read in 1 Thessalonians, the will of God, and then what it said next, sanctification. So I'm just like, hey, it's that accountability. That's why, again, I urge everyone, find preferably an elder, people who have gone through it and so forth. Find that elder that would be accountable to you, that's willing to pray for you, that's willing to pour into you and so forth, and help you and be from an objective lens. Say, hey, you're going down this wrong path. Hey, friend, that dude is not into you. Like, have that. But then you have to pray. You have to get in the word. Why? Because that trust. When you start seeing how dope God is,
because the more trauma that you have, the more closer to God that you are.
And it should lead you there, right?
Absolutely.
It should lead you. Unfortunately, it should lead you.
If you're tired of going through what you're going through,
it's the tired.
You have to be sick and tired of yourself.
And if you're not tired of it, and he, like I said, he had to sit me down, and I had to unpack all of that, and I had no clue. And when Red found out that I was finally single, because he's not a social media person, he's not an out guy,
right?
And he found out I was on social media. His homeboy, they said it at our wedding. He said it at the wedding. He was like, "Yeah, Nisha looking good," And he was like, "Yeah, give her my number." And my best friend, we was on the phone talking, and she was like, I said, "Girl, guess who came in my inbox talking to me?" And see, God had already sat me down. I had already cut my ties. I already closed it. I ain't sleeping with nobody because at this point I'm sick of you. I'm sick of it. And there's got to be a point where in my life I have to value myself as a woman because there's got to be, I got to be somebody. I got to be that woman that God need me to be, that I need to be.
Right.
I have to be her. And I have a daughter that's looking at everything that I do, and I don't want her to go through what I went through.
Right.
Emotionally, to be with somebody that you are not happy with is terrifying. It's traumatic.
Right.
And I had to unpack. I had to sit down. Every morning I would get up. I have sticky pads all on my window. And it said, "You are worthy." It said, I put it, and I did this on purpose because I knew at the time when I was doing my thing, he would come over and I would put it right over the toilet where he has to pee at, so he could see it. And it said, "People make time for what they want." And I would put like scriptures on my mirror, and those would be my daily aspirations for me.
Yeah.
And I was weaning and I kept telling him, I said, "You know what? God gonna put somebody in my life, and I ain't gonna be messing with you no more." And he said, "You can't leave me."
But look what happened. And I'm telling them, devils will say stupid stuff like that.
They expose themselves and then wonder why they get caught.
Always. But here's the thing. So God had to sit you down. You were, but I feel that it's your willingness to hear the voice of God and to submit to what God told you to do and make that dedication. Was that easy? Absolutely not. Did your flesh want it? Probably not. But it's that conscious decision that, hey, this ain't working for me.
Right.
I gotta stop.
Right.
The Lord's will was X, Y, and Z. So I have to do the Lord's will. And then I love the fact that you have like the words of affirmations and scriptures and so forth, just to kind of remind you, because many times you again, if your validation was by having sex, well, now you need to replace that with something.
Right.
Okay, so you have your words of affirmations, you have your scriptures and so forth, reminders of those things, but also the trust level in God builds.
I was gonna say
That's
that.
why I say it is very important that you commune with God. And what does communion is in this sense? That's why I say you have to pray. If you're praying just once a day, pray twice a day. If you weren't praying at all, baby, start praying now. If you weren't reading the words,
I would be at my desk working, and I would I would listen to sermons by Jeffrey Flowers Jr. And Jerry Flowers, and I mostly listen to him a lot because he talked about a lot about marriages and living in singleness and stuff like that. And I tried to listen to things that would get my attention and my heart on the right direction, so that I can be obedient.
You gotta feed yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta feed yourself because I love listening to. I'll listen to sermons all day. If you
I'm up there having a whole praise, I'm crying.
I'm
like, thank you, Jesus.
Okay.
So
a couple of things, just in terms of practical tools. A couple of things that I do. I do agree with you, Donisha. Listening to the word, preached words. I love listening to Pastor Rashida Collins, Pastor Daniel Davey, Mark Morgan. I just love. If you Google or if you go on YouTube and you put "Because of the Time" conference, click on any of them, any of those sermons, those services. First of all, they have some dope music, they like worship experience and all that. And then I also like listening to worship music and all that. What am I doing? I'm feeding myself. I'm replacing those things with spiritual things with God. And then if you're not one of those people that like to read the Bible all the time, let's just keep it 100. Listen to it. Let me tell you, BibleGateway.com. I like listening to, especially when I'm fasting, because babe, I don't know why.
And some of the character voices are so dramatic.
I was going to go there because especially when I'm fasting is when, ironically, it is more difficult for me to read the Bible.
Really?
I'm like, because it is more difficult because I'm that flesh. So I'm like, okay. So what I do is I listen to the dramatized version of the Bible. Like whoever played the devil, let me tell you something. May the Lord bless you, because I'm trying to figure out why your voice kind of sounds sexy, and the one that played Jesus, I'm like, dude, you couldn't get somebody with. I was so mad with whoever did that, but just listening to the drama, especially the dramatized version of the Bible, I mean that just helps so much. So going back to your initial questions, how do you deal with that? You have to get more into God. I don't know any other way to deal with it. If you don't believe in God, baby, please start believing in God. Like come to church, 6912 Williams Road, Sefton, Florida, 33584.
And I have been told,
come to church and be fed. But I don't see any other way. You know?
And I have been told different things, like you said, pray more.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Kenyatta told me, it was years ago, she probably doesn't even remember. It had to be like 8, 9 years ago. And I had to ask her a question like, what do I do? She said, you have to stay in worship. You can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
She said, so if you're in your car, you turn on that music and you turn that loud.
Yeah.
And you continue to worship. She said, otherwise that heartbreak that is chasing after you is going to try to catch you.
Correct.
So she said, you have to continue to stay in worship. And another thing that I got from the Lord myself was, he actually scolded me. When I tell you, they say that the Lord talks in a calm, still voice.
Mm-hmm.
But he yelled at me.
Mm.
He legit said, you trust me like I trust a man. I'm not a man.
Wow.
He said, that's why you have a tendency to go backwards, because you think you put me in the same
put
category
yeah.
as them.
Yeah.
I'm not a man.
Yeah.
Until you trust me, you're going to stay.
Continue to
Yeah.
go through
On
that.
his will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the same yell, and I had to once I realized that what it was going to take for me I had to be celibate.
Mm.
I had to stop sleeping with that person.
Mm.
I've been let the other person go.
Mm.
You know, I was just, and I felt bad. So I'm like, I'm being a little slut. I'm around here sleeping with
It's conviction. That's conviction.
I was like,
yeah.
it's a blessing in conviction.
Yeah.
If you felt nothing, imagine how far you would have spiraled.
Yeah.
True, and
Yeah.
I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. Like,
Yeah.
where's my value about myself? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, please I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And this man ain't gonna never love me the way that I want him to love me.
Right.
And so when you find somebody to truly love you
Right.
the way he is supposed to,
Yeah.
everything else behind you don't even matter no more.
Right.
He couldn't even, and the devil began to test me.
Mm.
And the devil put him right in my face
Mm-hmm.
while I was with my man.
Mm-hmm.
And see, James, Red, his name is James, but I call him Red. But
Yeah.
sometimes I call him James. But he saw him, and I told him, I was completely transparent when I got with him.
Mm.
I didn't sugarcoat anything, and he didn't understand. And he's still talking. He's like, babe, remember that time you told me you couldn't have sex with me because you was healing and you had to get rid of that soul tie.
Right.
He think it was so funny.
Yeah.
But I said, but you don't understand. I had went through a healing process.
Right.
And you
I
need to
am
be
so
thankful
that God took
Right.
me through that process
Right.
because
So
I
I
would not
can
be
be this
able
person
to
for you.
love you
Right.
Yeah.
the way that I am loving you.
Yeah.
I said, because if I was not healed from him,
Mm.
I would have cheated on you with him.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be getting married. We wouldn't have gotten married because I wasn't strong enough to let him go.
Mm.
And the devil put him in my face
On purpose.
on purpose.
Yeah.
The man walked up to my car and looked in my face. Hey, how you doing? And I'm like, Jesus, Lord, have mercy. My man back there. My man is over there. Please get your fine behind away from this. And Ray was like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, get away from that car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it kept going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And in the beginning, I'm not gonna even tell you no lie. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Because I got scared. Nobody never loved me to that extent.
Yeah.
Never,
Yeah.
ever.
And you go back to almost like your comfort zone.
And I
You know,
go to
even if it's
self-sabotaging.
toxic. Oh my gosh.
I was
listen,
self-sabotaging.
girl, you talking about the queen of
Yes.
self. Oh my gosh.
I was like, and he said, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah.
He said, you're going to be my wife. And he
Mm.
said, I love you. And I'm going to make sure that I make you happy. I'm going to promise your daddy that. He went to my daddy's gravesite.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I was being truthful with how I felt. It was very early. And I got scared because I'm like, why is he telling me he's going to marry me?
Right.
And I'm like, why is he saying that?
Like, you want to marry
Right.
what?
Like, girl, I was clutching my pearls. I'm like, why is he telling me that?
Right.
Because, like, ain't nobody ever said no jump like that. Not to me.
Right. Right.
You know, they say I'm beautiful and all that. They lust in me, but nobody has ever loved me to that severity.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I said to him, I don't think I can love you the way that you're trying to love me.
Mm-hmm.
And I broke his heart because the way he looked at me, he looked at me like, why would you say that to me? He was like, well,
not
whatever
understanding.
time that you need
to
do it, I will. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Patient.
And that's what I was like.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Okay, wait a
minute. But then again, I like even from there, I feel that when you are aligned with the will of God, God got you. Like it may feel like forever, because I'm like, I ain't a spring chicken. I'm like, Jesus. Okay, the hands are still there. They're still there. But I have enough faith that what I need, because I am doing the work to make sure I do everything in my ability to be aligned with His will and therefore His heartbeat, that He will give me the desires and He'll make everything work. So I may get my version of red. That comes.
And it is so.
Yeah. So. But here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just give you guys just a minute to give like your final words, your final advice on the topic before we wrap up. So we're gonna start with Kiki.
Oh, okay, they put me on the spot.
Yes.
My final words. Is it like what we've learned from this, or just
whatever on the topic?
So I would say this: words of encouragement. Seek God. Like you said, if it's more prayer that you need to do, pray. If it's something, whatever it takes for you to get closer to Him, so that way that trust with Him can be built. Because if you don't trust Him, it's just like a regular relationship. If you don't trust your partner, it's never going to work. If you don't trust God, it's not going to work. Do the work, and it's not going to be easy to get to a point where you can trust God, and He will help you to understand why either sex before marriage is not in His will, in His plan for you, because of how much it can damage you. I mean, if you've already done it, understandable. Do the work to get closer to God, so that way His will for your life will be His will for your life, and I guarantee you it'll be better than what you thought for your will for your life. And that's pretty much it. This sex before marriage thing really kind of brought a lot of things into perspective. Me being, I don't want to say so old, because I'm not old, 39, but if I understood then what I understood now about waiting, oh my God, like my value, my self-esteem, my self-worth, all of that would be, y'all really wouldn't be able to tell me nothing. But I also thank God for the lesson, for the humbling experiences that I have gone through, whether it was the molestation, all of that. I used to think that it was like a curse. Why does everything bad have to happen to me? Like, I'm laying right next to people and ain't nobody do nothing to them. But a lot of the times God will bring you through something, so that way you can help someone else or have words for someone else. So at the end of the day, I thank God for the journey. Just keep Him close.
Miss Anisha.
Okay, so just to those that are living in their singleness, people that desire a husband or a wife, before you get into that chapter of a relationship with someone, you have to make sure that you heal yourself first. Build your relationship with God, and don't take it as, you're restricting yourself from the things that you want in life. It's all about discipline. It's all about structure. It's all about self-worth. And I'm telling you guys this based off of experience. If you want a happy life, and sometimes God may not be destined for you to have a wife or a husband. He might just want you to be closer to Him before He can give you that person. Because a marriage and being with someone that's truly yours and truly touched with you with, soul to soul, person to person, you have to be true with yourself. You have to be ready, because marriage isn't easy. And I'm only on my end, but marriage ain't easy. And
sex before marriage can set you back a long way. And when you're unhealed and you're broken and you got all this stuff tied to you, you're gonna ruin the person that you're trying to make it work with, and it's just not gonna work. So live in your singleness, and that doesn't mean go out and sleep with Sarah, Sue, and Jane, and John, and Blue, whoever. You know, that means live in your singleness, and you can date people, and you don't have to have sex with them. You can learn to love a person, learn to get to know each other, and build your relationship, and be honest and transparent about what you want and what your heart desires, and keep God first in everything that you do.
My last word, I often think about, when I think of marriage, I think of something that my pastor said. We have like marriage principle classes. So he's like, look, if you even think about maybe 10 years from now you're interested in getting married, come to this marriage principle class. And I'll never forget, Pastor Collins said, at its best, marriage is hard work, and at its worst, it is horrific. Mm-hmm. I'm like, ain't nothing positive like so I'm like, if at its best, and I'm going to go by what he says. I've never been married, but that man been married 25 years. If you see him and his wife, I'm like, ew, like, y'all stop loving each other, right? But if at its best, it is hard work, and at its worst, it is horrific, why am I going to add to that? Right. And I think that is what premarital sex does. Mm-hmm. Because and in the relationships that you may have had with the individuals that you've had sex, it may have been good relationships. It may not have just been bad, but you're still bringing a part of that person in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You're still bringing a part of maybe your trauma, your past experience, sexual experiences with that person into the relationship, downright to where you probably comparing, well, you know, this one was bigger, mm-hmm. this one was tighter, this one, you know, was this and that. Like, you know, like, you know, I don't heard it all. I'm like, yeah. He said, what? Girl, I would have took that. But it's already challenging. Why add to that? Mm-hmm. And also, God is calling us to be holy and to be sanctified. And he knows what holy and sanctified is. He's calling us to be set apart, and he has outlined it for us. And it's so crazy how many scriptures, when he's talking about holy, being holy and sanctified, he's saying, do not fornicate. Do not fall into sexual sin. I don't know about y'all, but I'm just going to assume that God knows way more than me. And if he's saying that, then who am I? Who am I? I don't care what my flesh wants, because baby, okay? But if I want to fall into the will of God, I'm going to do what I need to do, because he has the ultimate wisdom, because he knows that at its best, marriage is hard work, and at its worst, it's horrific, and there's no need to add on to that. So,
and make sure that when you find your person, and you know that, and once you get to that point in your life that person is that person, do premarital counseling.
Yes.
We did, when Red told me he wanted to get married, and he said it in front of his mom, his mm-hmm. uncle, his dad, and his sister, and I said, well, I need to see you in every angle. I need to see you when you're mad. I need to see you when you got no money. Mm-hmm. I need to see when you got money. I need to see you on every angle, and we need to go to premarital counseling.
Very good. Very
because
good.
If you can't do premarital counseling, then we can't get married, because we need God mm-hmm. to be right there.
That's a whole other episode. That's a whole other episode.
We'll be back with premarital counseling.
We'll be back.
But thank you so much for watching tonight's episode of Unscripted. Be sure to follow me at Works by Dina on Instagram and Facebook. Mm-hmm. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Every Thursday we're here 7:30. And I hope that you will share this link and help me grow this page. God bless.
Good night,
y'all.
See you guys later.
We had a good time.
That was nice. I loved it.